Alpe d'Huez. 21 switchbacks take riders through decades of history, honoring those who've come before while they carve their own name into the record books. The most recent winner on the Alpe is Lance Armstrong, when in 2001, he set the third fastest time ever up the climb. This stage is not just about the Alpe d'Huez. After all, that would not be interesting enough for a centenary tour. Before they've reached the Alpe, the race will go over the Galibier, a climb famous for many reasons, and perhaps well known for something that occurred in 1911. The winner of that year's tour had 3 simple words for the race organizers after the first ever stage over the climb: "You are bandits." Right now, there's one rider in the peloton who's almost certainly thinking along the same lines. Gilberto Simoni, winner of this year's Giro, is unfathomably, utterly cooked. He is dropped on the ascent of the Galibier, resigned to be a complete non-factor in this year's race. At the front, the United States Postal Service team of Armstrong, setting a reasonable tempo. No one of interest has attacked yet, and Varenke is still here, trying to keep yellow and race for the King of the Mountains, as he follows Stefano Garzelli and Paco Mancebo attacking for the points at the top. Now, it's Alpe d'Huez time. USPS hits the front hard, with Harris picking out the pace, immediately tearing the peloton to shreds, perhaps going faster than even the team wanted. Right on Lance's wheel is Vinokourov, and Lance looks back at him as Ribeira is on the front. Also in this group, bandaged, suffering, bones grinding together, is Tyler Hamilton, the very picture of determination. There is one large figure not here. Where, oh where, is Jan Ullrich? Iban Mayo, meanwhile, catches on to the back of the group, the Basque rider who's fully at home in the high mountains. Hamilton, meanwhile, is somehow out of the saddle, the need to perform outweighing any human instinct of self-preservation. Harris has come back to the front as well, a lieutenant for Armstrong that seems almost ready to be a general. Still, there is no sight of Ullrich, until the moto camera finally finds him, somewhere down the Alpe with Stefano Garzelli. So he's alive, but we don't know what the time gap is, until the TV directors cut for a stationary helicopter shot, and we can count the time back. It's about 30 seconds. Not a great place for Ullrich to be in, but there's a lot of climb to go. Out of nowhere, Joseba Beloki attacks. The once rider said he would, and he is a man of his word, through and through. Harris keeps leading the group in pursuit, and Armstrong looks like he's in pain, and maybe he is, for the first time in years, vulnerable. Now it's his turn to pull, with Hamilton and Mayo right behind. Beloki is still on the front, moving well, but not well enough. He is caught, and now all eyes are on Armstrong. It's Iban Mayo who attacks, the rider looking fast and smooth, and Lance just keeps riding his own tempo. Right now, Mayo is 6 minutes down on the overall. If Lance is tired here, perhaps he's sacrificing his pride of winning a stage in order to save some energy. But now Hamilton goes. Then Beloki goes. They keep throwing body blows at Armstrong. Hamilton goes again, Armstrong's former right-hand man fighting back. Meanwhile, Mayo continues to fly up the Alpe, jersey and hair flowing in the wind. Beloki attacks again, and now they've gapped Hamilton a little bit. Lance has covered each attack, sure, but this is not the Lance of the last few years. They start to ease up, the battle reaching a lull. This allows riders to rejoin the group, starting with Vinokourov and Harris. Harris immediately resumes his role as support and takes over the front. Mancebo joins as well, whose head is resting on his own shoulder in pain. Ullrich is back there somewhere. Vinokourov attacks, the young Kazakh taking the mantle of team leader firmly upon his shoulders. Harris just keeps going tempo, and Lance seems unbothered, perhaps underestimating this year's winner of Paris-Nice. So it's time for Hamilton to, well, drop the hammer. Now it's Beloki and Basso and Armstrong all attacking. Pure, unfiltered chaos. What the tour was meant for. Up at the front is Mayo, with a lead of a minute, riding through throngs of fans. Second on the road is Vinokourov. There's 5 men in the Armstrong group, and then there is finally an Ulrich sighting again, 2 minutes down. When Mayo hits 1 kilometer to go, he has a win in the bank. He'll claim his biggest victory yet, and a huge win for Euskaltel, and he will now be a marked man. Quote, "To win here was a dream that became reality today. I was able to profit from attacking at just the right moment." Vino takes second, a minute 45 behind Mayo. The contenders now sprint for third, which Lance takes 2 minutes and 11 seconds behind. Lance still takes the yellow jersey at the end of the stage anyway, and he was kind of a baby about how the race went. Quote, "They're interesting to me today. The other riders in the lead group were more interested in looking at me, and less in controlling Iban Mayo, who is also a rider in the race and is also a threat on GC. I don't quite understand those tactics." But he did acknowledge weakness, which is odd. Quote, "I'm not as strong as other years, but I felt like that from the beginning of the tour. Every day of the tour is different, and the race is long. I had some issues at the start of the race that weren't ideal for coming into the tour. If you had asked me about a month ago if I was going to suffer that much on Alpe d'Huez, I would have said no way. So let's hope that things get better and not worse." Speaking of illness, it turns out that this is what has been Ulrich's demise today, recovering from stomach trouble and a 103-degree fever after the team time trial last week. Someone who did downplay his strength, though, was Tyler Hamilton. Quote, "When I got out of the saddle, I felt a lot of pain, like my collarbone was coming apart. As long as I stayed in the saddle, the pain is bearable. For tomorrow's stage, I'm kind of nervous, since there's a steep part for about 2 kilometers where I'll have to get out of the saddle." The most excited man, though, was Joseba Beloki. Quote, "The new Beloki is born. I have been able to keep my word, and I'm happy about that. To finish 2nd or 5th again doesn't interest me." The nature of racing for 20 days is that anything that can happen will happen, for better or for worse. It's another day in the Alps for the peloton, as they head towards the town of Gap, a place that has seen so much action over the last century. We hop ahead to the closing kilometers of the day. With just 9 left, 4th place overall, Alexander Vinokourov attacks. Quote, "Just before the stage, I had a discussion, and we agreed that if I felt good towards the end, I could try and attack in the last 15 kilometers, and see if I could gain some time on Armstrong." So clearly, he's feeling good. USPS takes up the chase behind, and then Armstrong himself sets out, going on the offensive for the first time this tour. Beloki, Ulrich, Basso, Mayo, and Zubeldia all follow the tour leader. The Armstrong group reaches the summit 16 seconds behind Vinokourov. All that's left is the descent. Vino is flying down the road. A stage win is within his grasp, as well as getting time to move closer to the yellow jersey. It's a tricky descent. The camera cuts back to the Armstrong group, being led by Beloki. They're coming into a right-hander. Beloki hits the brakes. His rear wheel locks up. He hits the ground on his right hip hard. Armstrong manages to avoid Beloki in a split second, cutting through a field on his left, remounting his bike, and rejoining the group, losing no time, as if God himself blessed him with good fortunes. Beloki was immediately taken out of the race in an ambulance. Later that day, the diagnosis of his injuries came out: a fractured upper femur, a complex fracture of the right elbow, a simple fracture of the right finger, and multiple contusions to the hip. Quote, as he lay in the hospital at Gap, he reportedly told director Manolo Saiz and his teammates, I am sorry, please forgive me. As his companions tried to calm him, he's reported to have sadly cried out, no, this was my tour. Meanwhile, Vinokourov stormed to stage win, a further confirmation of his talent and honoring his fallen friend, Andrei Kivilev. Since Andrei died, I've been riding with the strength of two men. Andrei is lending me his strength and force, and he is with me every day and pushes me. Not only does he win the stage, Vino slots into second overall, just 21 seconds behind Armstrong. Today is the last stage, before the first rest day. It could be a day for the sprinters perhaps. What it ends up being is a day for the breakaway. With 15 kilometers to go, there's 9 men out on the front with a 24-minute lead. One of these men attacks, CSC's Jakub Piel. Last year, he was in position to win a stage until his pedal broke in the final sprint. He's hoping that this year is not like that year. Fabio Sacchi from Seiko joins him eventually, and the two make their way towards the finish, even shaking hands with 1,500 meters to go. Jakub Piel handedly wins the sprint, guaranteeing some success from this tour for CSC. Quote, that is why I've reached my hand out to him with 1,500 meters to go. I wanted to thank him for the good fight. I knew he was a better sprinter than I, so I tried to get him in front of me, but it didn't work out today. It would have been nicer if I had won, but I can live with this defeat. Meanwhile, the peloton had a very easy ride as they headed into the off day. Another day for the breakaway, as 8 men get away, including Stuart O'Grady, who picks up more points at an intermediate sprint. He's currently 6th in that competition, but he's angling for more. With 20 kilometers to go though, it's Banesto's Juan Antonio Flecha that attacks, hoping to shed O'Grady specifically, as he would be the fastest sprinter if it came down to the line. The breakaway brings him back initially, but Flecha goes again, attacking on roads he's visited multiple times, and stays away. The 25-year-old rookie launches an arrow as he crosses the line for the biggest win in his young career. Quote, I'm thanking my entire team since this was the first win for Banesto. Today is incredible because my girlfriend lives here in Toulouse. I can't wait to see her. Meanwhile, O'Grady had to mourn yet another missed opportunity. Quote, I'm really disappointed. I was feeling good, but at the end, everything fell apart. Toulouse is my second home after Adelaide, and that's why I wanted to win here. I know it's a bit complicated, because I'm a good sprinter, and nobody wants to take me all the way to the end. I'm angry. I don't have much interest in racing for second place. Who knows how much it softens the blow, but O'Grady has moved up to 4th in the green jersey standings, which keeps getting closer and closer. Today is the first true time trial of the tour, a 47-kilometer rolling course, and it's yet another day where heat will be a factor. This is a target for everyone aiming to win the tour, especially Lance. Quote, I have trained more than ever on my time trial bike, and this will be one of the most important time trials that I've ever ridden in the tour. We'll start with Heimar Zubeldia, who had that great prologue performance almost 2 weeks ago. The goal here for the riders from the Euskaltel team is to bring the time gap to Lance down and be able to launch attacks at him through the Pyrenees. A few riders later, and it's Jan Ullrich time. We need to see how he's feeling after the Alps, especially here on a stage that suits him. Next out of the start house is Tyler Hamilton. This will be tough for him, as the ideal time trial position will not feel good on his collarbone. But we did see him right out of the saddle, so what do we really know? Iban Mayo sets off in 3rd overall, looking to limit the damage and time lost. Vinokourov is next, hoping to keep second overall, and he is decent at this discipline. And the star rolls into the start house. Lance Armstrong looks visibly nervous for the first time ever. In the last 5 years, he has only lost one time trial at the Tour. Ullrich's time trial position is such a far cry from modern positions. It does not look comfortable in any way, or that it offers much control over the bike, but he is moving quite rapidly. At the 13-kilometer time check, Ullrich has the fastest time. Now he blows past Ivan Basso like he's standing still. Vinokourov goes through, second place at the 13-kilometer time check. We look at Armstrong with his high cadence style, turning the pedals over quick. Further ahead, we're up at time check 2. Zubeldia has set the fastest time, setting himself up well, until Ullrich comes through almost 2 minutes faster. Then Lance takes second, 40 seconds behind Ullrich. The race is changing before our very eyes. Zubeldia hits the finish line with a new fastest time, 1 hour, 1 minute, and 12 seconds. A great performance that does indeed set Euskaltel up for the days ahead. Ullrich absolutely storms through the finish, the first rider to go under an hour on the course. Now, we wait. Vino finishes. Hamilton finishes. Armstrong finishes. 1 minute and 35 seconds behind. He will keep yellow, but the general classification now has Ullrich looming ominously behind, with only 34 seconds separating the two. Quote, I am very, very happy with this win. I feel like I found the old Ullrich today. Lance knows today was not good. Quote, it was much more difficult for me today than I expected. It was not a good day for me. No, it was a bad day. And Jan was superb today, and he's now a serious contender. Vinokourov is the same as ever with his attacking mindset. Quote, oh, I'm very happy the way things went today, that I didn't lose more time to Armstrong. Now, I will continue to attack. That's for sure. Heimar Zubeldia was excellent today with a 4th place finish. Quote, Armstrong isn't like other years at the Tour. It's not a show anymore. We're seeing the real Armstrong. In the next episode, the real Armstrong.